Hi guys, welcome to Parawoman Radio. I'm Amy. Oh, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. There's a lot going on with Gypsy, and as I predicted, I didn't want to be right, but I'm right. The other shoe is dropping for Gypsy Rose and her annoying husband, Ryan. So I thought I would show you the other shoe dropping. I had predicted that she was going to oversaturate herself, and she's done this. And people are becoming unhappy with Gypsy. If I were her publicist, I would send her away for a while. She's too oversaturated. People are not happy with her making so much money. People are talking about the fact that she's worth over $3 million now. She's doing inconsistencies. Hold on a second. She's providing inconsistencies with her interviews. And it's not like it used to be for her when her and her mother were running her scams, right? It's different because now people check up on these things. So she needs to start watching herself. Hi, Jay. I'm okay. Oh, good. Okay, good. I will check my email after this. So I have some videos that I'm going to show you of Gypsy. I had the best comment before I came on to one of my videos, and I wanted to show you the comment and read it to you. She said it so well, and this was by Hood Boot Vaycal 2395. She says, okay, and this was from the video that I did that, Gypsy Rose Blanchard's husband is annoying. And that should be their show name. But she says, okay, and she's talking about the podcast interview she did on, I don't know, she was wearing the gray sweater. It was an actual podcast. She says, okay, when Gypsy's trying to advocate on what to do, if you feel sus about something going on that doesn't feel right, that they should go tell somebody. What can it hurt? Then Ryan goes and says, it's hard to do though. And Gypsy grabs his arm and his head goes down in a submissive posture because that's a cue for him to shut up. And I made the comment back like, remember when the mother would grab Gypsy and squeeze her hand and that was her cue to zip it? So is this Ryan's cue to zip it? And then she goes on to say, and another was when the interviewer talks about Gypsy being a celebrity, and Gypsy says she doesn't consider herself a celebrity and doesn't like the term and would rather use the term well-known or public figure. However, the term she should be really using, she says, is infamous, because that's what she truly is, right? Infamous. And I think that's perfect. Plus, she's trying to team up with celebs to gain more notoriety. Sounds like she's craving the fame to me. There's stuff all over her interviews if you watch closely, and indeed there is. I'm starting to rethink my feelings on Gypsy. Still like her, but I think they need to back the train up a little bit. Put the genie back, try to stuff that genie back in the bottle for a few days because I think they're in trouble. So this is the first one I wanted to talk about, and Ryan continues to annoy me, and he's annoying other people as well. So let's watch a little bit, shall we? This is Parawoman Radio, and I'm Amy. If you could give this live a thumbs up, helps us dance out into the algorithm, bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help my channel out, and it's really appreciated. Shannon and I did can't think of, hold on. Never mind. I'll tell you about it later. Here we go.
Accompanying her for most of her events and appearances. They've recently been opening up about their relationship, and what they revealed is honestly insane. According to what Ryan told People magazine, his interest in Gypsy was sparked in 2017 when he watched an HBO documentary about her case, but he didn't even think about writing to her in prison until 3 years later.
So people are picking up on the fact that he watched the documentary and not the act. The documentary had nothing about sex. It had nothing sexual in it. It was all about the abuse of a poor girl. There was no sexuality in it. The act was something different. If he had watched the act, there was, a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, sexual kind of relationship. But in Mommy Dearest, which is the one that he watched, it was more just about a sick girl and a sick mother. And he said, from that, she's hot. I want to write to her and hook up or whatever.
What made him decide to reach out to her was really crazy. In 2020, one of Ryan's co-workers told him that they were considering writing a letter to Joe Exotic after they watched Tiger King. Ryan was inspired to follow their lead and decided to send Gypsy a letter. It didn't take long before his life changed in a very unexpected way. By May of that year, Ryan and Gypsy had started emailing each other pretty regularly. At the time, Ryan was employed at a Louisiana hospital, but his workload had seriously declined due to the COVID pandemic. He had more time on his hands to talk to Gypsy, who was immediately interested in him for a couple of shocking reasons. Gypsy recently spoke to People magazine as well, and she explained that she first became interested in Ryan because of his location. She was planning on moving back to Louisiana after she was released, so it was amazing to her that Ryan also lived there.
Many are saying that the reason Gypsy chose Ryan, and she said it out loud, was because he lived in Louisiana. She was coming out of this long-term relationship. She didn't want to go back and live in her dad's home. She could only be released to family. And so she looked for somebody in Louisiana, and here was Ryan, who Ryan has his own problems, right? I mean, right?
She also mentioned that she appreciated how open and personal Ryan had been with her. She was really impressed that he had helped his mom raise his nephew, so they continued emailing back and forth to learn more about each other. Because of COVID restrictions at Gypsy's prison, Ryan wasn't able to visit her for a while. Aside from the emails, they also talked on the phone whenever they could, but what happened the following year was truly unbelievable. In July 2021, Ryan and Gypsy were finally able to meet face-to-face for the first time, and according to what Ryan recently revealed in Lifetime's docuseries, The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, he knew pretty much right away what he wanted to do next. Ryan admitted that soon after he met Gypsy, she told him she was extremely interested in him. Since he had already fallen in love with her by that point, he came up with a seriously surprising plan for their third in-person meeting. In November of that year, Ryan decided to take his relationship with Gypsy to the next level. In the docuseries, he claimed that they had incredible chemistry, but he also couldn't get over how cute she was. So Ryan put an engagement ring on his necklace chain in order to sneak it into Gypsy's prison. During their visit, he professed his love to her and ultimately popped a question. On July 21st, 2022, Ryan and Gypsy tied the knot in a small ceremony at Gypsy's facility.
Ryan is loving his attention. He is in every interview now. And even when he's not in the interview, he's in the back talking in her interviews. He is loving his attention. And many people are saying that he married her because he knew the paycheck that was coming. What do you guys think?
Over the next year and a half, they kept communicating as often as they possibly could, but a few weeks ago, they began an amazing new chapter in their lives. When Gypsy was released from prison, Ryan was there to pick her up, but he wasn't by himself. It turns out that he was joined by an entire camera crew who were there to film Gypsy's release. Now, some people believe that his motives could be insanely suspicious. Ryan has recently been accused of marrying Gypsy for his own financial gain. Since he currently works as a middle school special education teacher, his income probably isn't great, but
that was another point that I've heard been made. That here's this guy that works with special needs students, and he's attracted to a girl who her mother dressed her up to basically look like a special needs child. Chew on that for a little while.
is more than likely benefiting from the money that Gypsy has been making lately from the docuseries and her new ebook release, Conversations on the Eve of Freedom. Was that his plan all along? According to the New York Post, marketing experts predict that Gypsy could easily be making a ton of money just on social media. They speculate that because of her endorsement deals and partnerships with different brands, each post she makes could bring in around $100,000. It's tough to know exactly what Ryan's real intentions are, but it does seem a little weird that a few months ago, before Gypsy was released, he was posting on social media about being filmed for her docuseries. Ryan recently told People magazine that because he's a private person, he's nervous about being in the public eye. But if that's really true, why was he posting about being a part of Gypsy's documentary before the world even knew he was her husband? A lot of people think it's possible that Ryan might have married Gypsy for the wrong reasons, but based on what she's been saying about him and the connection they have, it seems unlikely that he's only in it for the money. Ryan's Instagram.
Okay, so I will put the link to that if you want to watch the rest of it. I'm going to pop over into chat and see what people are saying, and we'll go on to the next one. That's really this one really made a lot of sense to me, this next one. This is Parawoman Radio, and I'm Amy, and we're going over the Gypsy Rose case. Ryan has started to annoy me, and now Gypsy is starting to contradict herself, and it's making me really think about this. So let's see. Elizabeth, hi Elizabeth. Elizabeth says, the thing that really bothers me the most is how old she was when she orchestrated this. Yeah. She tried to tell everyone she was 19, but she was 23, and she knew she was 23. Her coming out of prison tells me she has changed. She has not changed one little bit, and she lies to this day. She indeed does. He's eating it up. Anything for fame. Yeah, it's really sad. I don't know. I would have hoped for better, but I mean, I'm here for it. Like, it's a good story. Elizabeth says, sorry, but I see this marriage as short-lasting and nasty in the end. Me too. It's going to be about money in the end. I tried so hard to see her as nothing, me too, but a victim, but no, now I refuse to dumb down for her fortune and fame. Elizabeth, well said, my friend. Well said. Hi, Elaine. She says, haters, stop judging Gypsy and Ryan. Only God could be the judge. I respect that. I respect your view. I don't know if I'm a hater, though. I think I want to support her. And that's why I'm saying she should go away for a little bit, because I think it's about to get really nasty for her. So she probably will go away anyway. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, moving on. This is a podcast called Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. And these are the guys that point out, what's wrong with Ryan?
Point on this rather disturbing, and I'm not accusing him of anything, but it's weird. It's a weird parallel, and that would be the husband who had been a special education teacher for quite some time, working with kids that had disabilities. When you walk,
I support all views here, and I want to hear all views. You don't have to agree with me to come here. You just have to be respectful. That's all.
Away from watching Mommy Dead and Dearest, the documentary, which is the one he said he watched and is the one that made him want to contact Gypsy Rose. I don't know anyone other than this guy, and apparently many others that we're learning about too, who walked away going, she's something, she's cute, she's hot, or whatever the way he's describing it. She was portrayed for what she was at that moment in time, a disabled child in a wheelchair. There was, it was not, it wasn't the act, which did go into a lot more kind of a sexual type portrayal of her.
Right.
But this was not that. And if you're walking away from that and you're going, I'm going to write her, and you have, and he also kind of wish-washed a little bit going, I was just writing the letter because my friend and the Tiger King wanted to communicate. That's kind of justifying what he did and why he did it. And then he goes into this whole thing of it that I asked her some questions and I talked about myself on the whole other part of the letter. I'm sorry. There's something weird about that. You work with special needs children and you are attracted to a woman who is portrayed in that documentary as a special needs child.
Right.
That's a huge red flag. It is.
Huge.
It's a huge red flag.
And
It's
if that's not a huge red flag to you, I really think you need to take a serious look at what you're willing to believe and what you're willing to buy from this narrative that's being forced upon us. I think this might be why people are not happy, because I feel like it's being forced down my throat, but it's contradiction after contradiction, and it's weird creepiness after creepiness, and it's just feeling really icky to me.
not part of this fairy tale love story. It's gross, it's sick, and it's pretty screwed up. And at the end of the day, they're all adults, but it still, that to me was just gross. The way that this has been expressed. But again, you see them on The View, you see them over here and there, and oh, girl, isn't this great? No, it's not. This is sick. There's something wrong, and she needs help. And this is not help.
I agree, man. I like there's like his motives aren't pure.
No.
Like there's no other way. Like on top of what you just talked about in terms of like if like his mindset is there in terms of like I am attracted to this, like theoretically a disabled young lady, whether it be physically, mentally, whatever the case may be, like how she was portrayed in that particular documentary, or he realizes that she got a 10-year bid. He realizes that she's going to become famous from this, and there's a money motivation there. I mean, we can't pretend like this guy didn't realize that. I mean, that is like either way, or if it's a combination of both, it's grotesque.
It is.
And it's like, and I like stripping away my doubts about whether or not she was complicit with Dee Dee towards in the later part of her teen years, and again, we have to, like, we're forced to assume that everything that she's telling us about being chained to the bed and the handcuffs and the dog leash, that's true. I mean, like, there's no one here on this planet that can refute it, but what we do know,
I believe the dog leash story only because when you watch her and when she tells the story, she is telling the story, and as she's telling it, she's literally acting it out, and people don't do that. Like when she said, like, she would hold the chain and I would either have to go in my pants or in a bucket. She holds the chain in her hand when she does that. And that's why I believe that story. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Okay.
This kid was put in an abusive lifestyle for the entirety of her life, like, so, whether she became complicit, like the question becomes, was that, like I said earlier, was that by her own will, or was it her will was overborne by her mother? What I mean? It was just, it was pounded into her. It's like I was telling Allison, I don't even remember that show, The Riches, like, it was about like an Irish traveler family, and they were all con men, like the kids were born into it. The kids all understood it. The kids understood that that's how they lived, and they, they were all like, I don't know if this was that. I just don't, I mean, like there's like, I kept trying to make timelines and try to figure out, okay, well, she's got the eye thing early on, and then like when do the doctor appointments, like when does Dee Dee figure out that she can get SSDI, and like she's gonna parlay this thing into a way that she never has to work, and at what point that, like, is she having genuine, real conversations with Gypsy about, all right, look, I know this sucks. I know that this is not the way that you want to be living right now, but like, if you want to keep like living the way that we are with the trips and the money and you being kind of famous, this is what we have to do, and at what point does Gypsy realize, oh my God, like if I keep going with this, there's no end game to it, and like, you know what I mean? And like, I'm not willing to do this for the rest of my life.
I do think she mentioned that this was like a year and a half before they decided to unalive the mother. That was her end game. She was like, I can't do this anymore. And she said, that's when I started planning this. So a year and a
But
half.
if I don't figure out how to get out of it now, I may be stuck in it.
Sure.
You know, and if I'm not, like how long do I have to play this game? Will there ever be a day where if I just keep going along with this, where I'm just going to be able to stand up in my wheelchair and be like, okay, sorry, that was all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's such a weird case where there's just like, if you really critically think about it, and not diminishing the victim side of it at all, she was victimized, but there's another side of it that I just think that has to be looked at a little bit more critically.
Yeah.
So then they start going into what everybody does is when we say what we say, and then they say, but she was a victim, and we all understand that she was a victim. This isn't negating the fact that she was a victim, but she's not a victim anymore, and she was somebody that ended her victimhood by unaliving her mother. And she doesn't like to be called a felon or an unaliver, but that's what she is. I'm sorry, Gypsy Rose. That is what you are. Once a felon, always a felon, right? I don't think you can get rid of felonies. I don't know. Okay, so let's move along to the next one. These are two people that are talking about Ryan and his motivation. We're going to skip halfway through because they kind of tell the story about who she is and the story that I told at the beginning. So this is Para Women Radio, and I'm Amy. If you could give this live a thumbs up, helps us dance out into the algorithm. Just a free way to help my channel out. Let's see what you're saying over in chat. Elizabeth says, I think she will be okay with lots of professional help and when she decides to be honest with herself. Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen until the relationship with Ryan ends. And I don't know, I can't say that she's not just going to jump into another relationship where she tries to find someone who worships her. She needs to be worshipped, and she really just needs to be alone. She definitely needs professional help. She's still not well. No. She's going to need it probably for the rest of her life. Okay.
She doesn't know how to be alone. She's never been
alone. No, and I think that has something to do with it as well. But she did have the offer to live with her family.
Yes, she did, and she wanted to live with him. Plus, prison isn't the ideal place to nurture you growing into adulthood. No. I mean, she went there basically as a child with, limited life experience.
I do think she should have spent part of her time in a facility that helped with her mental health and part of her time in prison. She should have had both, or a prison that was geared towards mental health.
Experience.
No life experience.
Well, yeah, but she had things like, they went to Disney she had publicity. She was used to publicity, let's put it that way. She didn't have life experience, but she had publicity.
Right, because of what
she has been used to being famous her entire life. Well, I take that back. Probably, did it start when she was like 12, 14 or something? I think that's when it all started. When Dee Dee found out she could get money for her sick child.
He did to get that publicity, just to get the money, basically.
I'm torn. I think we tend, special education teachers and teachers in general, all teachers, they tend to be more altruistic people who want to help people and want to do good. But I also think that he probably has some ulterior motives here.
Almost has to.
For her,
because you think if he's a teacher, you don't just be a teacher.
Well, in Missouri, you might.
Now maybe
he has at least a degree.
He has a degree. He had to pass background checks.
True.
He had to, he at least had to be an upstanding citizen.
I did some teaching, and you don't have to have a teaching degree in some states, but you have to have at least a 4-year degree. And to be a substitute teacher, you have to have so many credits towards a degree.
Just, at the very least, right?
Yeah.
To be able to become a teacher. So that's not the type of person that you imagine marrying somebody who's in prison for murder.
And speaking of upstanding citizen, I mean, we definitely, I think society, we hold teachers, well, for the most part, I know there's a lot of teacher haters out there, but I think as a society, we hold teachers to a higher standard. I mean,
Well, you should, because they're with your kids.
There's been teachers who've been fired for, holding a glass of wine on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bit much, but this is a whole different thing. I mean,
Elizabeth, I don't even think that's word on the street. I heard something saying she had a routine, like she would wake up every morning, Ryan would wake up every morning, check her social media. Gypsy would call Ryan and he would tell her what was on the social media. She would tell him what she wanted to post for the day. He would post it and put it out there. They'd let it sit for a while. And then she'd call him back and he would say, what has been said. And does Gypsy still feel comfortable with what's been posted? Do they leave it up or do they go on to the next day? So, yeah, they had a routine. This is all making me unhappy with all of it, too.
The D is fired? How? I can't even imagine. I'm sure I'd be really embarrassed going into work the next day. He did say he took a couple weeks off, but I mean, sooner or later.
To get her settled.
So it's been a couple of weeks by now, so he must be back at school teaching, right?
Sooner or later, his real life's going to kick in there.
I'm sure it's kicked in already.
And maybe he doesn't even need to keep the job. I mean, I don't know how
Who
much.
thinks that maybe he doesn't go back to school, or maybe he goes back to school for a few days and is like, I don't want to do this, and then quits, or says he got fired.
Revenue she's taking.
That's where I was going with that. I hope that he at least realized that, okay, we're going down a road here, and this is where I'm just not sure. Was his motivation, was he really in love with this girl? Did he really have an infatuation with her? He met her. He's like, oh my gosh, she actually likes me. I'm not the best catch in the world. I might be the biggest catch in the world, but not the best catch. So
the deadliest catch.
deadliest catch, maybe.
And not for nothing, but I mean, I don't know, like.
And you can tell, you can tell what she's doing, and you can tell what he's doing in their social media posts, because you can just tell the writing is.
Well, he's chiming in too. Like,
well, yeah, exactly.
He's yelling at her haters on TikTok. I have to say, I think if they truly were in love and they really wanted to be together, I think if we were in that situation, let's say we were in that situation, I would say, if I really loved you and I really wanted to just be with you, and my intentions and my motives were pure, I would say, we have to do this the right way. You're on probation. We got to go off the grid. We got to be off the radar here.
Yes, I think her best route out of prison would have been to go live with her family.
Right.
And her father, her stepmother, her sister and brother, they wanted her.
Talk about her for a second. What is she with him for? She's with him because she needs somebody. Let's face it. She probably wanted to live, around her hometown, in her home state, around her,
which is why she picked
her family, right? She picked him, right? Because if that were me, I'd be like, yo,
she's looking for someone in her home state, and she's looking for someone who worships her, and someone who she feels can take care of her, and subconsciously someone that reminds her of her mother.
France, I love Paris, off I go. You know what I'm saying? But Gypsy with 250 people to pick from, I don't know what Ryan had. I'm sure we're all wondering. But then again, you did tell us the D was fire. So
but she didn't know that before.
She did not know that. No, they were only holding hands in prison. Yes. There was it wasn't like a Ted Bundy situation where she got to see how fiery the D was when she was in prison.
No.
So what's your take on all this? What do you think?
I am, like I told you earlier, I am back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Part of me really thinks they're both just all about the money, and she needed somebody to help her navigate these waters to build up whatever she's building up to collect on that money. He saw her as an avenue to, I don't have to worry about teaching anymore. I don't have to worry about my $40,000 a year salary.
And teaching in the South is no picnic.
No.
Teaching in the Northeast is no picnic either. I
so
love my students.
That part of me is like, okay, they are just using each other.
Yeah. I tried to teach in Florida and it was a nightmare. So let's move on to the next one. I will put the link as usual. This woman is talking about the tide turning, and she has some TikTok examples. So I thought we could watch a few of these examples.
Didn't expect to be talking about her again so soon, but I have been witnessing things on social media that give me a level of trepidation. I feel like there is an imminent danger. That makes me sound a little crazy and paranoid, but let me explain. Since Gypsy Rose was released, and I did
you, it's appearing on all the creators. We're all saying, warning, danger. What was that robot? Danger, Will Robinson. Is that something? Yeah. Warning, danger, Will. Yeah, that was, Lost in Space.
Discussed this rather recently in a prior video linked down below. People have been very, oh my God, slay queen. There have been memes about her literally slaying her mother. So there's been a lot on social media. Let me just say that. But what I have seen is overwhelming support towards her. Now, I don't have any real big issue with that because it really is pretty much none of my business. That being said, what does happen when we see crazy levels of support is that there is a level of glorification that occurs. And that's where my sense of trepidation goes off the charts, because anytime someone is put on a pedestal, anytime someone on the internet is the wholesome kind of person that everyone likes at the moment, the golden person of the moment, we see that fall apart, typically within seconds, and typically over something that usually is not that big of a deal, right? There have been massive fuck-ups on social media, but when someone is put on such a high pedestal, it takes nothing for them to just drop. And it usually becomes relatively ugly quickly. One of the TikToks that I saw to help me elucidate on all of this is this one.
How long do you guys think it'll take for everyone to turn on Gypsy Rose Blanchard? Because you guys love her right now. Like, that's your slay queen. She's boots the house down. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what any of that means, I'm sorry. But everyone's gonna turn on her. You guys are gonna dig up old tweets. She's just a little overexposed right now, and it's really only gonna get worse. We're gonna see her in Hot Ones. She's probably not gonna make it past the third wing. If she doesn't start her own podcast, she's gonna do like a...
It's already starting. People are noticing the inconsistencies.
Podcast tour. We're gonna see her on Call Her Daddy, maybe Drink Champs. She's gonna divorce her husband, and we're gonna see her course at the Knicks with Pete Davidson. I think she's gonna win the next season of The Masked Singer. And when you guys turn on her, which you will, she's going to go far right. She's going to get mad racist. Like, Trump is going to be bringing her out to every single campaign speech. I've already seen the next 2 years, guys.
And I completely agree with the concept that people are going to turn on Gypsy Rose.
Not sure if I agree with the concept that she's going to go far racist, though.
Also because...
I actually don't think that. I actually don't believe that at all, because Mia, her sister, is dating an African-American man. So I don't think that at all.
And this will be referred to in the second TikTok, she hasn't really been on social media the way us in the free world, that makes it sound like we're in the 1800s, us in the world who are roaming free have been on social media. So there are certain words that I know are indicative of something, that have connotations. There are certain words that are used by certain people that determines who they stand, who they don't stand. There's so many little intricacies about internet culture that you learn without even realizing it. And I notice this especially when I'm talking to my family about social media, right? You'll use terms that we all know what they mean and we know what the implications are, but someone outside won't. But it's just that when you are that detached and when you come into social media, kind of like basically diving into freezing cold water, you're just hit with all this shit at once. And so many memes, even the simplest of things, memes, are references to older videos, to things that happen in pop culture that she might not even be fully aware of, that it must be a lot to just be on social media, let alone being on social media with a big following, let alone being on social media with a big following and being very, very observed.
Guys, it's too early to be pissed off at Gypsy Rose. Basically, everything has gone exactly how everyone predicted. She came out of prison and immediately became an influencer. But cancel culture didn't exist before she went to prison. Prison was being canceled. This girl is a time capsule. She came out of prison and she goes to Times Square and she talks about how epic it is. Every video starts with the longest millennial pause I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. And so she came out of prison with almost no social media experience, and she fucked up on social media. This has also been predicted. We all knew that this was going to happen at some point. She was going to say something or do something on accident that was a little fucky. And so she posted her cousin, I want to say, who's 16, and she was like, ladies, age-appropriate ladies, slide into his DMs. Is that an amazing use of her giant platform? No. But she just
went into prison. It was still socially okay to sexualize kids, teenagers, and now, thank God, it's becoming unacceptable.
Got the giant platform last week. There's a learning curve here, and we've got to give a little bit of grace. This is not what I'm canceling Gypsy Rose over. If Gypsy Rose comes out as a Trump supporter, I would change my mind. But otherwise, give the girl a second to adjust to having a fucking monstrous platform.
Okay, so to contextualize this TikTok, in case you didn't know, Gypsy Rose posted a picture of her and her nephew, who is 15. She posted this saying that people should hit him up to date him, ladies, I believe it is. And she said clearly only age appropriate ladies.
And then she came back and said, you know, my aunt and uncle know that I'm doing this, and they said it was okay, and blah, 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 blah. Let's move on. I have one more to show you. This was just a quick one to show you that the tide is turning for Miss Gypsy Rose, and I'm not the only one that is questioning Ryan. This is Parole Women Radio, and I'm Amy. If you could give this live a thumbs up, helps us go out into the algorithm. It's just a free way to help us out, and it's really appreciated. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing. Today we're coming to you on Facebook. Hi, Facebook. YouTube. Hi, YouTube. And X. Hi, X. And hi to everybody in the replay. Let me see what I have up. Okay, I got to switch it. Today, Shannon and I did a new podcast called Highly Strange Days, and we talked about the alien incident in Miami on New Year's Day. So if you're into like some paranormal stuff, check that out. And we also talked about Men in Black.
Flawless, and I wanted to do some reaction to it. Y'all let me know in the comments what you guys think about what Nina.
So this is going to be an interesting one because this is Down the Rabbit Hole Network. There's Down the Rabbit Hole at bedtime, and this is Down the Rabbit Hole Network. And she's reacting to Nina, beauty influencer, reacting to Gypsy Rose. So we'll be reacting to a person reacting. So get ready to react.
Say, okay.
Gypsy Rose could end up back in trouble. And let me tell you why.
Oh, let me
she pled guilty
cue this
to
up.
second-degree murder.
What they're saying is because of Gypsy Rose and her literally coming out and saying, I am not a felon, I am not an unaliver, that she will be, and maybe Jay can answer this, she will be going against her parole and they might pull her back into prison. Because now she is going back. I'm sure when she went in front of the parole board, she was like, yeah, she had to take responsibility, right? That, yeah, I was a part of it. But now she's really trying to distance herself. But I don't think they can pull her back into prison for that. But maybe. I don't think so, though.
She took this plea instead of going to court so that she only would have to spend 10 years in prison. And she would have the possibility of parole after 8 years, which means after 8 years, she's eligible to go before the parole board and basically plead her case as to why she should be out.
So I'm trying to get to the part where she says Gypsy Rose could end up back in prison, and this is why. If you guys feel like in the comments, let me know if this beauty influencer is making a valid point to say that, yeah, there's a concern she could end up back in jail. For what purpose? For what reason? I don't know. For being a celebrity after what happened? I don't know. For incriminating herself on something else? I'm a little confusional, confusional about this. But
did she incriminate herself in something else? Some other thing that we don't know about?
Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
When you plead your case,
the shooting with her mother with the BB gun, is that what they're talking about?
In front of a parole board, basically you're explaining to them what you've learned from your mistakes. You admit to your crime and you say how you're going to move on and make the best of your life. And essentially explaining how you are not a threat to society. And you could basically do better in this world after you committed your crime. And they should grant you this parole based off of the fact that you've learned your lesson. You have accepted your.
I just want to say as a side note, I do not like the eyebrows of the woman putting on the makeup. I'm not a fan of those eyebrows.
Crime, and you are going to do better.
She has very similar eyebrows, but they have some shape to them. These don't. Anyway, I like skincare and I like makeup too.
Gypsy Rose went before the parole board and did this. And as she did this, she was granted.
I mean, we do a skincare and suspects over here on Parole Radio. How do you guys feel about the eyebrows? Maybe it's the eyeshadow that I don't like that's happening.
Parole. She was released out of prison December 28th of 2023. Now, in this clip I'm getting ready to show you is where Gypsy Rose has went wrong.
I don't associate myself as a murderer because if you think about it, yes, I had a part to play in it. I asked Nick for help. And how that conversation started was, he was saying that he would protect me from anyone. I said anyone. He said yes. I said even my mother. He said yes. And then the plan kind of formed from there. But he's the one that did the actual kill, not me. I can't kill anyone. That's why he's in trouble.
In many states, there are people doing life for being the person planning and not carrying it out. Gypsy, you got lucky, my friend.
To begin with, because he's the one that did it. So when they say I'm a murderer, I don't identify as that.
So after being released from...
So let's stop right there. To a certain degree, I feel like this clip is an eyebrow raiser, right? And we talked about it yesterday. We went live. We've had other lives about this.
Eyebrow raiser, get it? Eyebrow, just kidding.
You can't say you don't identify yourself as a murderer when that is essentially your charge, right? Also, you serve time and you...
Back over into chat, I see that Jay, who has knowledge about prison, says possibly. Interesting. We'll have to talk about that.
Who went in front of a parole board, to show remorse and how you plan to do better and what your plan is and whatnot. Yeah, I'm a little confused by that. I think the whole internet is going crazy over this, including TikTokers. Shout out to them. But this specific clip, I completely understand where there might be more.
We're over on TikTok as well, but we can't go live over on TikTok yet because we're only at maybe 600, little under 600. I think you got to be at 1,000. I don't know. So if you're over on TikTok, find us. We're Parole Radio, and then maybe we can do live TikToks.
Concern. I don't think that means that she's going to go back to prison based on this clip, but I don't know.
But then she's basically saying, well, I really pled guilty to this charge, but I don't think I was guilty, and Nicholas was, or is guilty rather.
I don't think that's what she said. And we can go back a little bit. I mean, let's go back a little bit.
Nick for help. And how that conversation started was, he was saying that he would protect me from anyone. I said anyone. He said yes. I said even my mother. He said yes. And then the plan kind of formed from there. But
even my mother, and the plan kind of formed from there. And you guys know that there's text messages and communication between Nick and Gypsy at that time.
He's the one that did the actual kill, not me.
So here, I think what I see Gypsy Rose doing is...
She says it's such a weird way, too. She doesn't say the actual M word. She says actual kill. That's weird.
Trying to remove herself from that situation. And like I said, you cannot rewrite history here. She played a very vital role in the whole killing. That's what I think, right? So that's just my thought. Now, that doesn't mean... I don't know if a parole board would sit there and, say, oh, without a shadow of a doubt, Gypsy needs to go back into jail because of this. I don't know. I'm having a hard time because you could definitely interpret different...
But if she does something else and it's really kind of like borderline messed up, they could be like, and she's doing this. Just saying.
Things.
I can't kill anyone. That's why he's in trouble to begin with, because he's the one that did it. So when they say I'm a murderer, I don't identify as that.
So after being released...
Does anyone believe that Nick would have done the unaliving without her? How would he even have gotten the money to get to Missouri? I mean, she gave him money twice, both times that he came to Missouri. She stole the money from the mother.
Yeah, I'm a murderer. I don't identify as that. Well, again, if a parole board is listening to this, could they do something about this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Then she's basically...
Let me pop over to chat and see if anything's being said. Elizabeth says it tells the parole board that she only said what she thought they wanted to hear. Exactly. Exactly.
Basically saying, well, I really pled guilty to this charge, but I don't think I was guilty, and Nicholas was, or
See, and I don't know if I agree with that, but I understand what she's saying.
is guilty rather. So she's essentially telling the parole board right now that, yes, I know that I said that I committed this crime, and I know that I said that I will be a better person and I have learned from this crime, but you know what? I've decided that I didn't commit this crime and I'm not guilty of it. And in my opinion, where she really went wrong is coming out and making all these interviews and having this docuseries inside and, going all over the country, doing these interviews with these news stations. It was a bad idea. Now, if I was Gypsy's friend, what I would have advised her to do was to do one interview when she got out. In that one interview that I would have told her to do, I would have told her to state her crime and basically say she's not trying to rehash the past. She knows that she's guilty of this crime and she's trying to move forward in a positive direction, and she really doesn't anticipate doing any other interviews.
I feel like that's what she started to do in the beginning, and then she, like, this one, she just, ugh. She was like kind of doing it in the docuseries one, and now it's like, really?
Interviews.
So, okay, so I understand what Lawless Mina is saying here, and I get it. Doing too many interviews at this point has maybe side-eyed the situation. You also, there are people, that are trying to put the pieces together to tell the story of what actually happened because they don't feel like they're getting the full gist from the full story from Gypsy Rose. What do you guys think in the comments? Let me know.
That would have kind of let the media know and everybody else know she was going to lay low. Rather than coming out immediately and going for like publicity and fame, it's not really a good idea considering she's still on parole. And in this interview, if the media would have asked her anything about Nicholas Godejohn, what she should have said is, I wish we would have done things differently. Unfortunately, we didn't, and here we are, and we've had to pay for our mistakes, and left it at that. Anything else that they had to ask, I
think that she should have said that, and something about like, I'm going to get myself together, get myself situated, and then I'm going to decide what I'm going to do when it comes to Nicholas. Like, just throw a bone out there for people, but she just shut it right down. Nope, not going to do anything for Nicholas, which I'm not very thrilled with. So I just wanted to update you on what was going on. The tide was turning, share a few other creators, what people are saying, TikTokers, YouTubers, and just get an idea of how do you guys feel about this? Do you feel like the shoe's dropping? Do you think that Gypsy Rose is going to be unlucky in love, like her mother put that voodoo spell on her? Do you think that it's really going to come true? I think it's going to come true, but not because of the spell, because she is not getting help and she's not relaxing. She's not taking care of herself and putting her needs and her family needs ahead of social media. I think she needs to go and relax for a little while. But who am I? I'm just one woman over here on the internet adding my commentary, and I urge you to go and do your own research. But I do want to know what you guys think. Do you think Gypsy needs to just go take a break for take a breather, a powder, gather herself, and then do her, what did she say she wanted to do? She doesn't want to be an influencer. What is she? She wants to be a what? An advocate for Munchausen by proxy, which I can't see that lasting for too long. So social justice, maybe. That's what I'm urging her to do. But I don't think she's listening. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. If you could give this live a like, a thumbs up. And if you like my content, please subscribe. If you have a case that you'd like me to cover, please let me know. We're going to be doing a Watts live tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Cindy Watts and the interviews and prison phone calls. 11 o'clock. I like to do my lives in the morning between 11 and 3. So anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. If nobody's told you this today, I'm going to tell you this, that I love you and I'm so grateful for you. And thanks for being here. Bye, guys.
The great help